Gentlemen, welcome back to a Bitcoin update. Bitcoin has crashed downwards. And I don't say that as a sensationalist YouTuber. I say that because that's what's occurred. We saw in a matter of 12 hours, in fact, much less than 12 hours, but here on the 12-hourly chart, we can see it, a drop downwards from the bottom of this wedge formation all the way down to around 61K, which was a 9% drop downwards. We actually discussed this happening in yesterday's video. In yesterday's video, I said that if we drop below this wedge on a shorter term time frame, like the 4-hourly chart, which we did end up seeing, we would go straight to 61.2K. That's essentially what we saw. We just got close to it, 61.5, but 61.2K is a very important level, and we said we'd go there for a reason. We said that because if you look at the monthly candle chart, right, what you see is that the highest ever monthly candle close we ever saw in 2021 was 61.2K, 61.3K, sorry, and you see we found that level for resistance right here in February, and we've found it as short-term support ever since. So I'm going to make this line pink, okay, so this is the monthly candle line. Then if we go to the shorter-term charts and you make this line pink right here, the monthly candle line, which is actually at 61.3K, what you see is that line has acted as a very major support zone throughout this short-term price region, and hence it would be a very adequate target for a drop downwards. We saw that drop downwards, and as predicted, we went straight to that level. So our predictions have been absolutely exceptional over the last week, quite literally. We predicted the top here, okay, after predicting the bottom here. We predicted that this move was not the end of it. We said we'd go down to the bottom of the wedge. We went down to the bottom of the wedge. In yesterday's video, we said we'd likely go downwards to 61.2K, especially if that wedge was broken. The wedge broke. We went downwards to around that price region, 61.2K. So every single prediction we've made in the last week has been perfect. And so here in this video, I will give you my next speculations to carry on this streak. But overall, what I want to look at here is what's actually occurred first and foremost. Again, we've come downwards. We've tested that monthly candle level. Now, here's the thing about 61.2K. All right, and here's why I'm not overly convinced that the bottom is in on the short-term move. All right, now what I just said, I need to repeat. I'm not overly convinced that the bottom is in here. In fact, I'm not really convinced at all. I don't think there's been any real confirmation of that whatsoever. Because the 61.3K level, this level right here, which we just tested, is a monthly candle level. The problem with monthly candle levels is that you can see wicks up and below them, above them and below them all day long. As long as you close the monthly candle above them or below them, that's all that matters. So these are not strong short-term levels. They are macro levels. We certainly could see Bitcoin wick downwards below this level before closing the monthly candle back above it. In fact, I think that's probably what we might see because, okay, again, it's a monthly candle level, it's not a short-term level. And given the fact that the support zone we have right now at 61.3K is all we have between here and 57.5K, okay, and it's a monthly candle level, not a short-term level, I don't know if that's going to be enough to stop this drop, considering on this drop we have lost this 12-hourly chart RSI triangle, which has been forming since January this year. And we have also basically almost lost, this weekly chart ascending wedge formation, okay, that has been forming since September last year. The amount that we've lost in the last 24 hours is large enough for me to suspect that we would go below that 61.3K level, go down to something like 57.5K, which you can find on the volume profile right here. Volume profile spike at around that 57.5 level. I suspect that's probably where we might find the bottom here. You also look at the longer term lines. For example, you look at this macro chart right here in the 2-week on Bitcoin, and you see there's a very important macro line that goes through the entirety of Bitcoin's price action since 2011. It has acted as a major support and resistance zone throughout this price action. I'll zoom in so you can see the tests, lots of support retest, lots of resistance retests. Every single time we've interacted with this line, we've basically tested it as a major support and resistance on the closes and on the wicks and occasions. And if you zoom all the way back to where we are right now, what you can see is that that line kind of rejected us throughout the entirety of the first phase of the bull market. We finally got above it. We have not retested it yet. We have not come down for a downside retest. Where would a downside retest be? It would be at 57.5K, roughly. In fact, a little bit below it, but let's just say 57.5K for the sake of argument. It depends when we test it, is what I'm saying. So yeah, look, we've got a lot of indicators right now lining up for a massive support block at that 57.5K region. So that is a major support zone regardless of time frame. Whereas 61.2K, which we've just retested, is only a monthly candle support zone, which can be invalidated on short-term moves. So what's more likely? Do we find support on that kind of vague monthly candle support level, which we've wicked below before on multiple occasions? Or do we find support in the actual structured support zone of 57.5k and then reverse? Right, that's the question. I would say it's more likely we find support in that 57.5k level, although I will say it wouldn't totally shock me if we found support here, because this obviously is a zone we've reacted to, as per the fact that on this 12-hourly candle, we went downwards all the way to 61.5, and then we retraced all the way back upwards to 63.9, almost a 3% retrace in that candle there. So we clearly are finding support. The fact of the matter is this entire region between 61 and 57 is a massive buying region, a massive support block. I wouldn't be concerned about macro unless we drop below that level. I'll say that right now. And the reason being is because obviously, as I said, there's a structured support block on Bitcoin. There is monthly candle support here, and there is structured horizontal and diagonal support here. So again, I wouldn't be concerned about macro really at all unless we broke below this major support block. I wouldn't even necessarily be concerned about macro unless we broke below 53k, which is our support zone below that support block, but that's a question for another day. I think by that point, our altcoins will be absolutely wrecked. So that's a problem we have to fight another day. But right now, what we're focusing on is this 57 to 61k region. I would say that region is where Bitcoin will find the bottom. I'm relatively confident in that. Perhaps we see a week below it, but overall, if we're talking weekly candles, I think that's the region which we find the bottom on Bitcoin. Right now, what am I seeing? I'm seeing the fact that Bitcoin's again just broken down from a 12-hourly candle on the RSI, a 12-hourly triangle on the RSI. I see it's just broken down from a major ascending wedge formation on the weekly chart. I don't necessarily see the adequate evidence that Bitcoin has bottomed out yet on this move, unfortunately. So that's rough. Bitcoin daily charts in a similar position, broke down from a horizontal wedge from a horizontal channel on the daily chart RSI. Again, not really seeing the adequate evidence that this is over yet. We've only started to move down from it just recently. USDT dominance. This is the USDT dominance chart showing you USDT dominance in the market as a percentage format. It has bounced from a major support level that it's been holding for support since 2019. It's seen a strong bounce in that region. It's moving upwards to the top of its descending channel formation. So yeah, that could be bad news as well, because we actually could break that descending channel to the upside. That would lead to a more strong move to the upside in USDT dominance, which would be bad for Bitcoin. So again, at this point, not really seeing the adequate short or medium term evidence that the Bitcoin bottom is in. Perhaps that will change over time, because ultimately what I'm saying to you is that the RSI charts on 12-hour, on daily, on USDT dominance, the RSI charts on the weekly chart as well, are really stopping me from thinking the bottom is in on short term. But obviously RSI can have divergences. So as time progresses, if these RSIs continue to move downwards, but the price continues to move upwards, that could change my opinion on these short-term moves. But as of right now, today, which again is subject to change, no, I'm not convinced that the short-term bottoms are in yet. What would convince me, again, if these RSIs started to move downwards significantly into oversold levels, then I would start to be convinced. Or if Bitcoin quite simply gets back above the wedge or breaks 69k, then I would be convinced. Rarely 69k is the target Bitcoin needs to break. 69k is a very important level on the weekly chart, because we look at the 2021 all-time high, we can see that 69k was the 2021 all-time high, and we look at the weekly candles and we see that 69k was where we found resistance on the weekly candle, as well as support here as well. So if we get back above 69k, I'd say Bitcoin's very much in the clear for new all-time highs, but until then, I'm not overly convinced. Alternatively, we can look at the RSI, but right now the RSI is not in a great position. So yeah, I don't know. Bitcoin right now, it's just seen a crash. Will it crash further? I think, to be honest with you, a crash by definition. No, I think crashing is over. I don't think we'll crash further. I do think there's a pretty good likelihood of Bitcoin going down further, but I think for now the overall crash, like by definition, is done. I don't think there will be any more massively rapid price decreases, to be honest with you. But yeah, I think we could certainly go lower. I don't see any reason to rule that out at this point in time. Am I willing to sell anything like macro bags? No, of course not. No, I'm not selling my Bitcoin here. I'm not selling my altcoins here. I don't think there's any reason to do that. I think if we're talking macro bags, we need to treat it in a macro sense. Right now, the macro is still healthy. So I don't want you to confuse what I'm saying. I'm not macro bearish at all. All of this is normal price action in the sense of cyclically speaking, but it is slightly concerning at least for the medium term, short term. It hasn't developed into a macro threat yet, so don't be concerned from that front. Just look at it from a logical, rational perspective. Understand what we're doing here. Overall, guys, Bitcoin is still at the same price level it was last month, okay? We haven't seen the halving yet. The halving's in 6 days. This is not a macro threat at this point, but we need to discuss it, I think, every single day. So come back with tomorrow's video. We'll speak about it. Actually, in tonight's video, I'm doing 2 videos today, by the way. In tonight's video, I'll be discussing Bitcoin dominance. I'll be discussing USDT dominance to a larger extent. I'll be discussing altcoin season because I think these things need to be discussed as well. Bitcoin dominance has done something very big over the last 24 hours. We need to look into that. So stick out for tonight's video as well. It will be 12 to 14 hours away from the time I posted this. So stick around for that. Guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Before we end the video, if you appreciate what I'm doing on this YouTube channel, free content here today. You watch this video for free. Very insightful. You can check out the BingX and BitGet exchanges. Both very low in trading fees. Both have never been hacked before. My referral links for these exchanges are down below in the description. You can click on those links and get 15% trading fee discounts with those links. So go ahead and check them out. BingX and BitGet. Great way to help the channel by using those links down there and help yourself as well by getting on a good exchange. We've got the Crypto Academy Become a Trader 10-unit course, the bull market sale. For a limited time, we're doing a sale on Become a Trader 10-unit course. If you want to learn how to do TA and trade so you can navigate the markets by yourself, you can do that. This course is very insightful. All the information's down below. Also, the VIP group on Telegram. We trade altcoin trading signals a few times a week there on VIP, 4 to 5 times a week, actually. Those signals have had a 77.51% success rate over the course of 18 months, so very profitable signals. 77% success rate is not something to be joked around about. That's very good. That's 3 out of every 4 trades reaching profit. In fact, more than that. We've also got a group chat involved with that, so you get access to signals and you get access to a group chat where you can discuss the market with other people 24/7. Good stuff there. Check it out. Guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'll catch you later today.